government at all levels requires huge revenue if all of government's commitments to the people, along with their expectations, must be achieved. Indeed, lofty policies and programs which make for good governance and societal development may be hindered if there is paucity of funds or funding for proper execution. Recently, the Ogun State Governor, Prince NTA Abeokuta, presented a budget proposal to the State House of Assembly, and part of the means by which the ideas presented were to be effected would be taxes payable by citizens and residents of the state.
Parameters and fiscal assumptions underpinning the 2022 appropriation. Mr. Speaker and other honorable members of the State House of Assembly, the 2022-2024 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper set out the parameters for the 2022 appropriation bill. The state government estimates. Total state funding is estimated at 350.7 billion in 2022. This includes Ogun State Internal Revenue Service (OGRS) estimate of 56.3 billion, and other ministries, departments, agencies estimated at 96.87 billion, totaling 153.17 billion. Statutory allocation, i.e. FAC and VAT, is expected to be at 73.01 billion, while capital receipt is estimated at 124.56 billion, i.e. internal and external loans, including grants and aids. Planned 2022 expenditure. The aggregate expenditure of 350.7 billion is proposed for the state government in 2022. We have been able to achieve a 51% capital expenditure in view of the need to drive our developmental objectives. Recurrent expenditure. Personnel costs. In 2022, the personnel cost estimate took the largest portion of 75 billion under recurrent and is allocated to paying salaries and allowances in ministries, departments, and agencies. Public debt charges. We remain committed to meeting our debt service obligations, specifically to attract capital investment into the state economy. Hence, we have provided 28 billion for this in 2022. Overhead costs. The total overhead cost of MDAs and government-owned enterprises is projected at 51 billion in 2022. Capital expenditure. Physical capital expenditure. An aggregate sum of 170 billion is expected to be available for physical capital projects in 2022. This is an increase of 10 billion over the 2021 approval of 160 billion to chart our economic recovery growth through investment in physical projects that will create an enabling environment for investment, employment, and trigger redistribution of resources.
Wikipedia defines taxation as a compulsory financial charge or some other type of levy imposed on a taxpayer, either an individual or legal entity, by a governmental organization in order to fund government spending and various public expenditures, be it regional, local, or national. Failure to pay in a timely manner, along with evasion of or resistance to taxation, is punishable by law. Since the inception of the present administration, under the leadership of Prince NTA Abeokuta, the State Internal Revenue Service has done a fair bit in boosting the state's revenue generation through a great deal of initiatives driven by Commissioner for Finance Dapo Okubadejo and the Revenue Service Chairman Olugbenga Olaleye. Key among these is the fast drive towards something called tax digitization, which has become more imperative in a world of information technology as a paradigm shift for a more effective and transparent revenue collection architecture. This is essential for the effective continuation of Prince Dapo Abiodun's Building Our Future Together strategy, adopted to ensure all-round development in the state. By and large, tax digitization places emphasis on collecting data and determining tax liabilities, which will result in a more secured collection and control of tax revenue. Solutions attributed to tax digitization are unquantifiable. These include e-registration of new taxpayers, payment of tax and stamp duties, e-filing of returns, e-receipting, and electronic issuance of the tax clearance certificate, among others, which are needed for official engagements. So, the Ogun State Internal Revenue Service organized a cocktail party for tax-compliant agencies in the state, where a robust discussion on tax digitization took place in a largely relaxed and congenial atmosphere, affording the agency the opportunity of encouraging and appreciating tax-compliant clients. Speaking at the event, the Commissioner for Finance, Mr. Dapo Okubadejo, said government's vision is to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive in the state.
The vision of His Excellency is to have best-in-class governance, and to create an enabling environment for business, for public-private partnership to thrive, and to engender economic development for the state and promote individual prosperity of our people. Right? So our best-in-class governance, so we want an administration that will have world-class governance, and governance in the sense that administration that will be guided by the rule of law, that will promote transparency, accountability, justice, fairness, equity, all the tenets of good governance. His Excellency put it as one of the visions. The second, of course, is to create an enabling environment for business.
Explaining public-private partnership (PPP) as part of the present administration's goal to encourage and attract investors to the state, Mr. Okubadejo said public-private partnership was passed into law to provide legal and regulatory framework to guide the private sector and the government.
Government cannot function. Government does not have the resources without private sector collaboration. And so therefore, and because these so-called resources that government will use to function, the resources are very, very scarce and they are extremely competitive. And so it behoves on us to ensure that we make it easy, or we put in place all necessary mechanisms to attract, to encourage, to incentivize private sector people to come and do business with us in Ogun State. And the only way to do that is to create an enabling environment to make it easy for them to come, to remove all the red tapes, all the bottlenecks, and to actually begin to provide seamless and efficient service delivery for the private sector. And so that would lead to public-private partnership. And that's why this administration actually passed into law the PPP law and also officially set up a PPP office that will provide a legal and regulatory framework to guide the business between private sector and government.
The Finance Commissioner enlightened the tax agents on how the present administration arrived at Ishaya development pillars as part of its vision in achieving socio-economic development in the state.
The governor came up with what we refer to as our Ishaya developmental pillars. Ishaya, as you all know, is our state anthem, and it's now our acronym for the pillars with which we want to achieve economic development, so that we can achieve our ambition to be the fastest growing, so that we can also be in line with the vision of His Excellency as well.
In his contribution, the chief host and chairman, Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Olugbenga Olaleye, said the essence of the gathering was to synergize with tax agents, enlighten them more on tax digitization, look into challenges being encountered by tax agents, and giving them support.
The essence of this meeting, I don't want you to lose the essence of this meeting. Each time I go around, I say, don't sit on your seat, don't sit on the chair. You need to look at synergies. Nobody operates in isolation. This might be the opportunity for you to seal a $1 million deal. You need to understand the end-to-end process of your own organization and try to see what is A's part in my process. Pali, you are the ones doing this. That's great. One of our raw materials that we are using is this, and this, and this. And we're having this problem, whatever. You've got a link. The day you have the next problem, the other time I met this man, they're calling for me. Something that probably will have taken you weeks, within hours is sorted out. This is what this kind of meeting is for. It's not just to drink. It's not just to talk. It's for us to look at synergies in the things that we are doing. What can I pick from what you are doing, and what can you pick from what I'm doing?
Tax digitization, according to the chairman, has come to stay in Ogun State Internal Revenue Service with the purpose of exploring and expanding TaxNet.
Taxation. With digitization, you can explore that into you're expanding the tax net. You are able to bring those people that have not been captured to come in, for them to really be part of us in really building the future. Because with digitization, you're able to really see the efficiency, the ease of doing things. Even for you yourself, you are excited to pay your tax. From the comfort of your room, you can do whatever you want to do, and it's done. Not wanting to come and see some people that are going to tell you, I can help you. The person that is probably saying that he wants to help you, he might even be cheating you. You can even be paying less than what you should have paid if you have done the thing in the right way with digitization. And that will be a savings for your business. There are so many things that can happen with digitization. So we'll give you a bit of insight into that digitization program that is really going to help to expand, the tax net, and also make life easy for you in terms of doing your business from the comfort of your home.
Mr. Olaleye assured tax agencies that the state government would only collect appropriate taxes from all taxable residents.
My vision is to make sure that we collect appropriate taxes. I mean the word, mark my word, appropriate. Collect appropriate taxes. We don't want to undertax, we don't want to overtax. And we want to collect these taxes from all residents of this state, all taxable residents. I emphasize the word taxable residents because there was a time when people were saying, because of this development levy that some students were going to pay on behalf of their parents that could not provide thesis, they said we are collecting money from students. Students are not supposed to pay taxes. But for the purpose of their registration in the state schools, they are supposed to show the evidence of tax clearance certificates of their parents. But where some parents don't have that, they need to show evidence of paying some form of development levy, which is what they use. So that was what some of those students were paying for on behalf of their parents. Their parents give them the money. So it is only the taxable residents.
Special Advisor to Prince Abiodun on Revenue Generation, Mr. Adegbenga Adeshino, also informed participants that tax digitization has become necessary because of COVID-19.
As you are aware of the swan experience of the COVID-19, which this kind of event only happens 1 in 100 years, has reshaped our lives positively and in other dimensions. One of the positives is the compulsive adoption of technology to initiate, process, and complete business transactions.
To take Ogun State to an enviable height among Committee of States and for citizens to reap the dividends of democracy more, voluntary compliance to payment of taxes cannot be compromised. All taxable adults resident in the state are hereby enjoined to pay appropriate taxes as and when due without being forced to build the state of our dream. You can pay to bank officials at any of OGIRS offices spread across the state. You can also do direct transfer into designated government accounts. Payment through recharge card, InterSwitch remitter, Express Pay and other payment platforms is also acceptable. Please ensure you obtain tellers and receipts for transactions made with OGIRS. Note that OGIRS staff are not expected to collect cash from any taxpayer but pay using any of the payment options. For more details, visit any of the OGIRS offices closest to you or contact us on the numbers 0807 058 0651 and 0908 433 2417. Website www.ogirs.ogunstate.gov.ng. Facebook and Instagram at OGIRS.gov.ng. Payment of tax promptly is your civic right. Therefore, pay your tax.
Meanwhile, we caught up with representatives of tax-compliant agencies ranging from the manufacturing, banking, and the education sectors, and they bore their minds on tax digitization and its benefits.
I'm so happy for what is happening today because actually for how many years I've been in GP, this is my first time of having this kind of meeting where we have to meet the Ogun State Internal Revenue as taxpayers. So I think it's a good thing and it's something that will always encourage people to pay their taxes when you see that even the government have you in mind also. So about the digitalization, I think it's a very good initiative that will ease stress.
The tax digitalization, being a finance person, it's okay. I believe it will reduce the tax burden of paperwork. It should also reduce bringing tax on it also, because most of tax offices and state taxes, you must go through somebody or have to do documentation here and there. But digitalization, when you digitalize it, I'm sure it will be it's going to reduce more of paperwork and more of that. It's going to reduce time also in collecting the tax.
The state government, through the Ogun State Board of Internal Revenue Services, they have tried to create a kind of synergy between revenue payers, corporate organizations and the state, and to look for more areas of partnership and more area of collaborations to ensure that things are done seamlessly. Several initiatives they've shared with us today, which I believe that is going to show up the revenue collection in the state, and as a responsible taxpayer, we will be there and will always offer our support to the state and to Ogun State Board of Internal Revenue Services.
That's the way to go, because what COVID did was to move the whole world a decade forward. So with less interaction with human, there is less error. Digitization, makes you have speed. Digitization makes you have quality, feedback, response, and mutual understanding. So if there's anything, once you send whatever and your responses are automated, we only deal with exceptions where they exist. So digitization is a way to achieve quality in tax reports.
We are very happy and very okay with the new system because it makes our work more easier. The issue of doing the manual collection of the tax will not be there anymore. So at the right from our various offices, we can collect our information and probably they come down to assess our tax performance, which is a very good development. So we hope they will continue with this pace and probably see a way of improving probably in the coming future by the grace of God.
And what's more, the State Revenue Service seized the opportunity of the gathering to recognize the highest tax agent of the year. Tax digitization has to be seen as a welcome development for both government and the citizenry, as it will not only enable smoother revenue collection but ensure speedy issuance of key paperwork devoid of bureaucratic bottlenecks. It also allows for transparency, thereby potentially reducing corruption and ultimately allowing government more capacity to deliver the much desired dividends of democracy to the citizens of the state. With such initiatives, we all win. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn, àjọṣe wa ni.
To take Ogun State to an enviable height among Committee of States and for citizens to reap the dividends of democracy more, voluntary compliance to payment of taxes cannot be compromised. All taxable adults resident in the state are hereby enjoined to pay appropriate taxes as and when due without being forced to build the state of our dream. You can pay to bank officials at any of OGIRS offices spread across the state. You can also do direct transfer into designated government accounts. Payment through recharge card, interswitch remitter, express pay and other payment platforms is also acceptable. Please ensure you obtain tellers and receipts for transactions made with OGIRS. Note that OGIRS staff are not expected to collect cash from any taxpayer but pay using any of the payment options. For more details, visit any of the OGIRS offices closest to you or contact us on the numbers 0807 058 0651 and 0908 433 2417. Website www.ogirs.ogunstate.gov.ng. Facebook and Instagram at OGIRS.gov.ng. Payment of tax promptly is your civic right. Therefore, pay your tax.